From ancient myths to modern rom-coms, the makeover fantasy refuses to die. Change the clothes, change the accent, change the status, and suddenly, love swoops in to seal the deal. It's Cinderella in endless costumes. From Pygmalion to My Fair Lady to Pretty Woman, the core hasn't shifted. A woman gets transformed. A man basks in the glow of having discovered her. Social hierarchies turn into romance, and audiences eat it up like comfort food. Welcome to Real Talk, where we spill the tea on movies and all the madness in between, with wit, sass, and zero sugarcoating. Let's rewind to 1913. George Bernard Shaw wasn't spinning fairy tales, he was writing satire. Pygmalion was meant to mock rigid class structures, not celebrate them. Eliza Doolittle, the Cockney flower girl molded into a duchess, was less about love and more about exposing how arbitrary and ridiculous social boundaries were. Shaw's Eliza was never supposed to be a passive doll. She pushes back, reminding us the transformation was society's obsession, not hers. Fast forward to the mid-century, and Hollywood softens the bite. My Fair Lady takes Shaw's sharp satire, wraps it in satin gowns and show tunes, and gives us Audrey Hepburn twirling into high society. The irony? The musical turned a critique of class into a glossy fairy tale, and audiences adored it. It was less about exposing hypocrisy and more about dazzling the audience with the fantasy that refinement, manners, and a wardrobe change could make anyone belong. And then came 1990. Enter Julia Roberts, Richard Gere, and the ultimate Beverly Hills fantasy. Here's the plot in shorthand. Corporate raider Edward Lewis, Richard Gere, takes a wrong turn on Hollywood Boulevard and meets Vivian Ward, Julia Roberts, a street-smart sex worker with a quick wit. She drives him back to his Beverly Hills hotel, and one impulsive night turns into a $3,000 deal for a full week. The arrangement? She plays his arm candy at high society events, while he keeps her in designer clothes. Vivian's rodeo drive shopping trip? Brutal. Saleswomen sneer and turn her away. But with the help of the hotel manager, she gets her Cinderella moment. The glow-up, the gowns, the etiquette crash course. Soon, Edward isn't just impressed, he's smitten. Of course, the fairy tale cracks. His cutthroat lawyer exposes Vivian's past and even tries to assault her. Edward steps in, saves her, and starts questioning his own ruthless ways. There are weekends with him offering her an apartment and allowance, but she wants love, not a transaction. She leaves, determined to start fresh on her own terms. But this is Hollywood. In the iconic finale, Edward pulls up in a white limo, climbs her fire escape like a knight in Armani, and rescues her. Vivian flips the script with that final line. She rescues him right back. Pretty Woman wasn't satire. It was escapism in shoulder pads. A sex worker turned Cinderella, a billionaire who rescues her, and a love story wrapped in rodeo drive shopping bags. But here's the kicker. The original script, titled 3000, was dark. In that version, Vivian was written as a drug-addicted sex worker, and Edward was supposed to shove her out of the car, toss the money at her, and leave. What we got instead was capitalism rebranded as romance, softened into a glossy fairy tale where money, charm, and Julia Roberts' megawatt smile made everything forgivable. Different eras, same skeleton. Whether it's Eliza's vowels, Audrey's gowns, or Julia's boots-to-ball gown glow-up, the fantasy endures because it fuses two cravings, romance and aspiration. We don't just want love, we want love that upgrades our lives, to be chosen above someone else's world, to be seen not just for who we are, but for who we could be. That's why the formula keeps recycling. New dress, same transformer. And one of the engines behind these stories? The social climber theme. It's not just about Eliza learning proper English or Vivian trading thigh-high boots for designer dresses. It's about moving up in the world. We eat up makeover scenes because they're shorthand for crossing class lines. Hair, clothes, manners, posture. It's all coded as better, and we're hooked watching someone ascend. The social climb isn't just DIY, it's turbocharged by being chosen by someone with status. Henry Higgins creates a lady. Edward Lewis bankrolls Vivian's glow-up. It's patronizing when you look closely, but in fantasy terms, it's intoxicating. The idea that one person with power sees your hidden value and lifts you up, that scratches a universal itch. That's why Vivian resonates more than Edward, or Eliza more than Higgins. We identify with the climber, not the gatekeeper. Watching her rise gives us hope. Maybe someone will spot our potential. Maybe one chance encounter changes everything. The passerby's line in Pretty Woman nails it. Some dreams come true, some don't. But keep on dreamin'. That's the fairy dust that lingers after the credits. And let's be honest, half the thrill is visual. The scrappy dress to the ball gown, the messy bun to the perfect updo, fashion as destiny. These movies are runway fantasies in disguise. And the audience loves the before and after reveal because it's proof that transformation isn't just possible, it's visible. But here's the irony. Shaw's Pygmalion, 1913, was never meant to be cozy fairy tale material. It was satire, sharp and deliberate. Eliza walking away from Higgins wasn't just realism, it was a statement. This whole man shapes woman, woman owes him everything set up, is manipulative, condescending, and ultimately unsustainable. She doesn't stay because she shouldn't. Then Hollywood swooped in with My Fair Lady, 1964, and instead of holding the mirror to society, they turned it into a swoony musical with flowers and gowns and a tidy reconciliation. Higgins doesn't change. Eliza returns with perfect diction, perfect manners, and perfect outfits. And boom, happy ending. It rewrote Shaw's whole point. The mockery of rigid class systems got airbrushed into romance conquers all. And then comes Pretty Woman, which turbocharges the daydream. Not only does the professor figure Edward keep Vivian, he rescues her, in a literal white limousine, climbing the fire escape like a knight. Hollywood didn't just sand down Shaw's irony, it doubled down on the fantasy. Here's the million-dollar question. If Pretty Woman dropped in 2025, would it hit the same way? Honestly, no, not as is. A billionaire sweeping a sex worker into luxury would land as dated at best, problematic at worst. Yes, Vivian does technically make choices. She negotiates the $3,000. She sets rules, like no kissing, and she ultimately chooses Edward at the end. But the framing is skewed. He holds all the power, and the plot hinges on whether he keeps her or not. Modern audiences want heroines whose power doesn't come from being chosen. They'd ask, is this uplifting or exploitative? Does he love her, or is he saving her? And for how long? That doesn't kill the fantasy, but it means it needs a remix. Keep the chemistry, keep the glow up, but update the framing. Otherwise, Twitter would eat it alive. So why does this Transformer fantasy keep cycling back every few decades? Because deep down, it scratches an itch we all carry. The dream that love isn't just emotional, but transformational. That someone walks into your life, sees your hidden worth, and upgrades everything. It's shallow, it's messy, it's unrealistic, but it's irresistible. And makeovers? Please. That's the beating heart of it all. Every version serves us the glow-up montage. The bad hair smoothed, the clunky shoes swapped, the awkward accent polished into perfection. Clothes, hair, manners, the external transformation becomes shorthand for inner worth finally being recognized. It's fashion therapy, plus romance, plus hope, all tied up in one package, because that's the other piece, hope. Pretty Woman literally ends on it. Remember the bystander in the last scene? Some dreams come true, some don't, but keep on dreamin'. That's the promise audiences buy every time. The fantasy that maybe, just maybe, someone will show up and sweep us out of our ordinary. And yes, chemistry makes or breaks the spell. Julia Roberts and Richard Gere were lightning in a bottle. Her laugh, her vulnerability, his cool restraint, together they turned fluff into magic. The truth is, Julia only got the role after both Molly Ringwald and Meg Ryan turned it down. And Richard Gere, he wasn't first choice either. Al Pacino was approached, but imagine that version. It would have been Scarface Goes Shopping, not a rom-com. Fun fact, Gere almost didn't take it until Julia Roberts slipped him a post-it note begging him to sign on. That one note gave us the chemistry that turned a $14 million budget film into a cultural juggernaut. And let's not forget the music. For some people, the fantasy landed because of the story. For others, it was the cast. But for plenty, it was the soundtrack. Roxette's It Must Have Been Love became a breakup anthem, and Roy Orbison's Oh Pretty Woman got dusted off into pop culture immortality. You didn't need to watch the movie to know the song. It was everywhere, glued to the fantasy like Julia's smile. And of course, no Real Talk Dive is complete without the behind-the-scenes tea. Vivian never once sits in a chair in the film. Gary Marshall had her lounging on the floor instead, to keep her playful and unpolished, a flower girl in thigh-highs instead of a poised lady. And when Edward takes her to the opera, it isn't just a fancy date night. It's La Traviata, literally a story about a courtesan falling for a wealthy man. Vivian isn't just watching an opera. She's watching her own story reflected back at her. Then there's the jewelry box moment. You know, the snap and the laugh that sold the movie. That wasn't in the script. Gere pranked Roberts, and her laugh was so genuine, they kept it. Add to that the fact that the necklace in the box wasn't costume jewelry, but a real $250,000 piece, complete with security guards hovering off camera. And suddenly that scene feels twice as electric. And here's the kicker. The iconic poster, Julia in the bodysuit and boots clinging to Gere. It wasn't even all Julia. Her face, yes. But the body? That belonged to Shelley Michelle, her body double. Hollywood magic, stitched together to sell us the ultimate Cinderella fantasy. So why we can't quit? Because every generation wants the same fix. The makeover, the romance, the dream that someone will see us, save us, and maybe even sing us into a better life. From Pygmalion to My Fair Lady to Pretty Woman, it's the same transformer in a new dress, and we keep lining up for the encore. Sweet, shallow candy we can't stop unwrapping, even if we know it might stick in our throats.